Question I often get asked is, what is the best day to start a business according to astrology? Now, this question is a little bit more complex than it first seems. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Catherine Hocking. I'm a modern business astrologer at catherinehocking.com. And in this video, I'm going to dive into some of the things that you should consider if you're wanting to find the best timing to start your business. The first thing I want to make really clear is that there are specialist astrologers that can help you with this type of question. It is a specific branch of astrology called electional astrology. Electional astrology is quite an ancient technique, and it's a form of astrology where a whole lot of rules are followed to find the optimal timing for a particular activity within a particular period of time. So it's quite an in-depth process. What I'm going to share with you today are some more general tips, but if you really want to get detailed with this, then please consult an electional astrologer. So the things we're going to cover today are things like the influence of planetary days, lunar phases, inner planet retrogrades, and void of course moons. And there's a particular process that I'm going to share with you that really starts to narrow down your period of time based on these factors. So if you're thinking about starting a business, the first thing that I would be considering is, when are the inner planets going to be retrograde within the period of time that you're looking at? Mercury retrograde is probably the most significant planet to look out for because it retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year. So at any given time you might be looking to start your business, it's possible that Mercury will be retrograding. Mercury retrograde isn't the absolute worst thing in the world. My business, for example, which has been going for 14 years now, was launched when Mercury was retrograde, and I've had a lot of amazing success with it. However, if I had the choice in hindsight, I might have chosen to wait until Mercury was direct. Mercury is a planet that impacts communications, contracts, technology, all of these types of things. So having Mercury direct for a business is what I would say ideal. But there is another planet that I think is even more significant to consider when starting a business, and that is Venus. Venus retrogrades a little bit over every year or so. So we won't always have a Venus retrograde every year. But when it does retrograde, it retrogrades for a significant period of time. And during this time, we can find that things like money flow is blocked. We can find that it's harder to attract people to our business. So this isn't the sort of energy that I'd want to be starting a business under. Mars is another planet that goes retrograde from time to time. And if you launch under this phase, you might find that your business struggled to get momentum and get going. So again, I would aim to launch when Mars is direct. So I've mentioned this particular issue first because this is going to give you a broad range time period where hopefully all of these planets are direct. So after you have picked this broader period of time in which to launch your business, the next thing I would think about is the zodiac season. So the zodiac season runs from the date of the month, normally around the 20th to 22nd of the month, where the sun moves into a new zodiac sign, and we call that a zodiac season. You may want to consider, let's say that you've narrowed down a 3-month period where none of those planets are retrograde, but there might be 3 different zodiac seasons within that time frame. The next thing I'd be doing is thinking about which of these zodiac signs most closely represents the energy that I want to incarnate my business with. Because the impact of this is that your business sun will be in whatever sign the zodiac season is. So what we tend to do is we tend to look at the nature of the business, the types of offerings the business will have, and the overall energy, how you want your business to shine in the world. I would then pick which zodiac season aligns most closely with that. So, for example, my business has always been around writing, speaking, and teaching. I'm a teacher trainer at heart. I love to speak on stage. I have written so many e-courses over the last 13 years. And my business sun is in Gemini, which is a perfect fit for that energy. So you've made sure there's no retrogrades happening. You've picked the best possible zodiac season based on the months that you have available to you. What's the next step? Well, the next step I'd look at is I'd look at that month that you've picked and I would look for the days where the moon is waxing. So the moon has effectively two core different phases. We have waxing phases and waning phases. The waxing phase is between the new moon and the full moon, when the moon is growing in size. The energy is expanding. The waning phase is after the full moon, where it starts diminishing again. So for launching a business, you're generally going to want to launch during a waxing phase where the energy is growing. Okay. So for the month you've picked, then find the dates where the moon is waxing. So between the new moon and the full moon. Now, of course, you can then get even more specific by deciding which waxing phase you want to launch on. So the new moon is a beautiful phase to launch a business under, or perhaps just after the new moon, about 24 hours afterwards. There's a real sense of setting intentions and planting the seeds for what you want to create. First quarter moon is another really lovely waxing moon phase. You know, the energy is starting to build. There's a sense of possibility. And just before the full moon is another really nice time. The energy is at its peak. There's a really great energy of like really putting something big out into the world. So you've made sure there's no retrogrades, you've picked the best zodiac season, and you have now picked either the waxing phase in general or one of these particular waxing phases of the moon. What do we look at next? Well, this is going to narrow your days down, most likely to perhaps a period of around 10 to 14 days. At this point, what I will be looking at next is void of course moons. A void of course moon is when the moon isn't making any aspects to any other planets before changing signs. And what astrologers say about void of course moons is nothing will come of anything. This can be a good thing for something like, for example, if you're wanting a date to have a biopsy for a cancer, or possible cancer in your body, because you don't want to get a result on it, right? You want it to be a negative result, but it's certainly not the energy we want for starting a business. So this might have narrowed your dates down even further. Let's just say, for example, you have 5 or 6 days within that period of time where there's no significant void of course moons happening. Well, at this point, you're probably going to want to look at the specific energy of that day. Now, we could go into a lot of detail. We could look at planetary aspects and moon aspects. But for the purposes of this video, the last thing I want to leave you with is thinking about the planetary ruler of the days that you have narrowed down to. So every day from Monday to Sunday has a planetary ruler. And so each day has a different energy to it. Monday, for example, is ruled by the moon. It's really quite a, or ideally should be, a slow, intuitive day. It's not necessarily a day I'd be launching a business on. Tuesday's ruled by Mars. Action, bravery, assertion. I think this could be a really great day of the week for launching a business. Wednesday's ruled by Mercury. So if you have a communications oriented business like mine, Wednesday could be a really great day. Mercury also rules commerce and contracts and all of that sort of thing. Thursday's ruled by Jupiter. Again, if you have a learning-based business, this could be a really nice day to launch your business on. But it also brings with it the sense of expansion and abundance. Another beautiful day for launching a business on. Friday's ruled by Venus. This could also be a really lovely day for launching a business because Venus in business astrology rules money and cash flow. So that can be a really nice day as well. Generally, we're not likely to launch our business on a weekend, apart from perhaps if we were having a big launch event or something like that. Saturday's ruled by Saturn. Again, not the worst day for launching a business, but with Saturn, we've kind of got positive and negative to it. In traditional astrology, it's thought of as the greater malefic. I probably would err on the side of caution and not launch on Saturday. Sundays are ruled by the sun. In most cases, it's meant to be a day of rest. So, apart from some very specific circumstances, I probably wouldn't choose to launch a business on a Sunday. But this is going to give you a good idea of, once you've really narrowed down the possible dates and therefore days of the week, which one to choose. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, seeing how I would narrow down which day to launch a business on. Please do keep in mind that when I do this for clients, I go into a lot more detail. I go through a full electional astrology approach. I also teach electional astrology in my level 2 business astrology certification, and we'll post the link through to that program in the notes for this video. So I'd love to hear from you. What have you considered astrologically when choosing what day to launch your business on? Is there anything I haven't mentioned that you were particularly interested in? Keeping in mind there's a lot of techniques that I haven't shared with you in this video. And please subscribe to my channel to get more business astrology updates, videos, and tips from me on a weekly basis.